And so we are now currently less than 24 hours away of the release of the new 8th anniversary characters. Both White and also Ichigo are setting out to be some of the better characters in the game, especially in their respective attributes. But alongside those two, you also have a good selection of filler characters this time around, where even if you don't potentially get the anniversary characters, there's still some good characters and good value to pick up in this particular banner. So with that said, let's break down this year's anniversary banner. First up, let's have a look at the actual date. For starters, it is going to release tomorrow, July 23rd, and will be lasting until July 31st. And this therefore means the second the banner does leave, we are going to be getting part 2 of the anniversary. Now that's something to keep in mind. While I do think this banner is a must summon for a large majority of the players, you also want to make sure you still have some orbs spared for the next week banner, because next week is highly suspected to be a new 1000-year Blood War banner, and if you are excited for any potential new 1000-year Blood War character, then of course you want to also save some orbs for that. For those that are curious though, the banner itself will officially get announced on the 28th of July, so for some reason you have the patience to maybe hold out, wait a couple days, to see what part 2 is going to be, then you might have a better decision if you want to go all in on part 1 or save some orbs for part 2. At the bare minimum, I recommend everyone do 6 steps on this particular banner, and personally my go-to plan right now is to drop half my orbs that I have right now on part 1 and then the other half on part 2. But this year is technically special because we also do know we have a upcoming Banka livestream, August 27th, which therefore means August end of month is also most likely going to be another 1000-year Blood War banner. So while this is the definitive anniversary banner, there are still big banners coming our way, and you want to make sure you at the very least have some orbs for those particular characters. So that's just a few things to keep in mind. But having a look at the banner itself, first up, let's talk about the 2 new characters. Number 1, let's talk about White. In this case, this was the character we've been waiting for the Mind attribute. Minders desperately need a character like this, and I'm actually happy it ended up being White. In his case, he's all about doing a massive amount of damage, massive amounts of healing, while also being a pretty good team support character. But in White's case, he is currently a Mind no affiliation character with the Soripa and also no affiliation killer combo. It's a pretty good combo, definitely going to make sure he's usable in quite a few bit of content, but what's really exciting about this character is his strong attack damage output. He has Frenzy +2, so his strong attacks hit 3 times instead of the usual 1 time. Alongside that, when he does inflict a Stasman, which keep in mind he does have an increased chance to do so, and he can inflict both Lacerate and also Drain, he then gets an 80% stat boost to his Spiritual Pressure stat. That is going to allow his strong attacks to hit very, very hard. And it gets even better because when you do inflict stat elements, which again he has an increased chance to do so, you're also then doing 100% more damage to those enemies, since he can do 40% more damage to drained enemies and 60% more damage to lacerated enemies. And keep in mind that Drain can also heal you back up to full stamina, so this character is going to be really fast, do a lot of damage, and also have a very easy time staying up full stamina, especially because he is immune to every status element in the game. While he is a great damage dealer, what's also exceptional about this character is the character's soul bomb. It's very similar to someone like 1000-year Blood War Yamamoto, although in this case for different reasons. Once more, as already mentioned, the SP boost plus 80% is very good for nuking in Guild Quest, especially when you consider the fact the character does have Bombardment +1, which allows his soul to hit 8 times. Add the fact that he has weakened defense, with bonus abilities it will allow your entire team and yourself to do 60% more damage. And also for the first time ever, he also does increase your Mind character's soul bomb damage by 30%. So not only can he himself do a lot of damage on his Soul Bomb, which increases his usability in Guild Quest content for example, he can also double down as a really good team supporter with that particular buff, as he is able to increase 7th anniversary Ichigo's Soul Bomb damage as well. Since both of these characters share the Soripa killer, you're able to actually use both of them in the Soripa, melee and ranged guild quests. In a hypothetical situation, let's say you only have this character special move level 1 out of 5, therefore not really being able to nuke all 5 waves of guild quests, but let's say you have a 5 out of 5 Ichigo. Well, having White on the sides as a team supporter is actually allowing your Ichigo to nuke even better. So overall, White's just going to be an amazing character for dealing out a lot of damage, a lot of heals, really good as a side or a main in guild quest content, and even gets better in arena as he does pick up Frenzy +3, Poise, and also the Start Power Item +2 skill. White is an exceptional character and definitely one of the prizes for this anniversary banner. When it comes to Ichigo, however, he is also an exceptional character this time for different reasons. In this case, Ichigo himself is a power Soripa with the Hollow and also no affiliation killer combo. Once more, another pretty solid combination. Now when it comes to Ichigo's damage output, he is going to be one of the more consistent characters in the entire game, and that's mainly due to the fact that he is the first character in the game to have Frenzy +3, which for any new players out there means his strong attacks are hitting 3 more times the usual amount. 4 times per hit in this case. And to go alongside that Frenzy plus 3, the character also does do 20% more damage at full stamina. But what really rounds up the character in of itself is the strong attack kit that he does have, especially when you consider the fact that he does have weakening and also drain on every single attack. With an increased chance to inflict status augments, this character is going to be constantly inflicting status augments to the likes we've never seen before. And that's important because his combination of status augments are the best in the entire game. Weakening and drain is a very powerful combination. The weakening makes it so he only takes 1 damage, it makes him do 50% more damage, and the drain allows him to stay at full stamina so we can take full advantage of that 20% more damage at full stamina. And the strong attacks this character does have also ensure that he is going to constantly inflict status augments, many thanks to SA2, which is a tracking vortex. But to go alongside that really high survivability and also consistent damage output, he also has some extra effects that overall round up this character. For starters, he has a 100% chance to hit any dodging enemy. This therefore makes it so no enemy can dodge him. He has poise, so he can never take any stagger effect, and that's going to make him one of the best auto characters in the entire game. He can hit any hidden enemies, so no one's going to hide from his attacks. He is immune to every status augment, and also for the first time he has the poise break skill, where any enemy in the game that does have poise will be pushed back and will be affected by his hits, most importantly his Vortex SA2, and that's going to be really good in content like Limit Breaker Quest, for example. Very similar to White, this Ichigo is going to be one of the best characters in the entire game, especially for the power attribute. If you want to have a super easy time tackling any technique content, this is the character you want to have. No one is going to compete with his damage output and also survivability. It is absolutely insane. Moving away from the 2 new characters though, let's have a look at the filler characters, the character you will also be pulling for while summoning on this banner. In this case, for our first filler character, we have Fierce Battle Yamamoto. For mid-month standards, he is an exceptional character, with a really high damage output thanks to his Frenzy plus 1, high Berserker value, and also 100% more damage to enemies not deflected by an ailment. Alongside that, he has a very powerful strong attack kit, only lacking Havoc plus 20%. Well, if you've played with him, it's really not that big of a deal. I will say though, despite his high damage output and really good strong attacks, you're not going to find many places that actually use him, and he's really only good when going against human enemies. Human enemies as a whole are quite rare to go against, but whenever there is human content to go against and you have Yamamoto, he's going to be a really good character to use there. If you don't plan to use him though, you can definitely still get some value as his soul trait is hard droplet drop rate plus 30%, so you can use him as a soul trait to farm hard droplets. If you do like the character though and you want to take him outside of PvE content, you can take him into the arena where he then gets even more skills such as Frenzy plus 2, an extra special move, and also the Start Pop item plus 2 skill. Overall, Fierce Battle Yamamoto for a mid-month character is actually really impressive. Next up though is Yoruichi. As a character, she's mainly only going to be used in Inheritance Zone and also epic raids to farm links or potions and also droplets. As she does have the plus 5 links or potions skill, you can use it to farm links or potions if you are a Yoruichi fan, and she also doubles down as a team supporter since she does have a boost and heal SA2. What's really important about this character's SA2 is that it does provide the booster skill, so you are increasing your team's attack, focus, and defense by 43% instead of the usual 33%. This allows it to even be used outside of epic raid content, for example Guild Quest content, as you can be the team booster. So for a Linkstop character, she has more uses than most out there, but at the end of the day, she is just a Linkstop farmer, and that's realistically the only reason why you are going to use her. She's nothing super amazing, but she can be taken into IZ, she can be taken into epic raids, even Guild Quest content, for example. If you have no plans to use her, at the very least she is a 30% technique droplet drop rate soul trait, so you can even get value out of there just from the link aspects. When it comes to Crystal's Hallibell, a very similar character. In this case, once more, Many is only going to be used in Inheritance Zone and of course also epic raids to farm Mind Linkswap potions. Her damage output for a mid-month character is actually quite high. She gets better in Arena as she does pick up an additional Frenzy plus 1, Start Pop item plus 2 skill, and she also doubles down as a really good soul trait since her soul trait is damage inflicted at full stamina plus 30%. Really good for any hard character you pull in the future. Segunda Etapa Okura is our next character, and he's strictly going to be a Guild Quest character. If you are struggling to tackle the Ranger Captain Guild Quest, this character is going to be a great damage dealer to help you tackle this particular quest. And it's mainly due to the skills that he does have. For starters, he has a quite high damage output thanks to his 4 plus 1, 50% increase on his non-attack damage, and also an additional 40% more non-attack damage when you are at full stamina. As a character, he can somewhat stay at full stamina since his SA2 does provide him a 5-hit barrier, and it also debuffs the enemies. Debuff as a attack isn't really that great, but that's not really the selling point of this character, because in Guild Quest he then does pick up an additional 50% kill effect and also 30% more range damage. He's definitely a character you can take outside of the Range Captain Guild Quest week. He was given Guardbreak after all, he definitely is usable. If you like his character, you can get use of him, and he also is pretty good in Arena as a defensive type character. But overall, his main place in this game is to be used in the Range Captain Guild Quest. Our next character is Akon, and this character is mainly there to be a support while also being a super Linksoft farmer, so he has that value going for him. He's not the best in the attribute, he does pale in comparison to someone like Tenten Zangetsu for example, but if you are just in need of a new super Linksoft character to farm power super Linksoft potions, this is a great option to pick up. The character itself does decent damage, nothing super crazy, but he is a team supporter too. For starters, he does buff your character's strong attack damage by 20% if you are a speed character, while also increasing your speed per character's damage to status elements by 40%. This can make him really good in epic raids content when paired with someone like Tensar, Swimsuit Retsu, and even New Year's Ichigo, characters that you do see quite often. He will be a character that you will replace for Tenten Zangetsu in the future, but as of right now, if you do lack super Linksoft farmers or Linksoft farmers in general, this character would definitely suffice and is a great character to use for that particular type of content. Mainly epic raids, Inheritance Zone, and also Inheritance Trials. Mayuri is our next character, and he's a very solid mind character, this time having the Espada kill ability. But to a small extent, he really doesn't care about killer. And the reason for that is due to the skill set that he does have. For starters, when it comes to damage output, he has Frenzy +1, a 40% Berserker. When you do inflict a stat ailment, you get an 80% stat boost to your Spiritual Pressure stat, and keep in mind every 5 seconds he has a chance to inflict paralysis and also poise on any given enemy on the field. So more often than not, he will have the SP boost active, but at the same time, this character when at full stamina also then gets an additional 40% strong attack damage. Damage output is good, he's got some good utility effects thanks to his guard break and also hidden enemies, and he also has a good set of strong attacks with some really good stat ailments that includes paralysis and also poison. He's overall just a very solid mind character, and also can be a really good character to tackle in the melee Espada Guild Quest, where your options of characters might be very limited. Any dupes of this character is also really good, as he does pair well with someone like Beyond Resurrection Ulquiorra. Getting into one of the more exciting characters of the banner, we have 7th Anniversary Uryu. Being a previous Anniversary character, it's no surprise that this character is one of the best in the entire banner, and there's many reasons for that. For starters, he himself is a speed human Quincy with the Aranka and also no affiliation killer combo, and just like White and also Ichigo, a very solid killer combination, especially given the fact that he's one of the few really good speed characters. There's not a lot out there. But in this case, what makes Uryu good is his really high damage output, great set of strong attacks, and also really good survivability. In his case, when it comes to damage output, he has a 20% Berserker, Frenzy +2, has an additional 20% strong attack damage that he can give to your entire team if they are a speed character, and he also does have weakening adrenaline on every single attack with an increased chance to inflict stat ailments. So you'll be constantly inflicting stat ailments, in this case weakening, allowing yourself to do more damage, take less damage, but also allowing yourself to get back up to full stamina thanks to the fact that he does have drain. But alongside that, he also is a gauge character, so every time you do use your character's strong attacks, you'll be filling up the gauge, and when that gauge is full, not only will it reduce your character's strong attack cooldown by 30%, it will also give this character an additional 100% strong attack damage. That right there is very powerful, and while that gauge is active for those next 10 seconds, he is hitting ridiculously hard. And to help with the fact that he has to be fast, he was also given Long Stride and also 2 extra flash steps. But that's not all, he also doubles down as a team healer, because every time you move into another map, he will be healing your team by 20%. Really good character in any piece of content, one of my favorite characters in the entire game, and he also gets better in Arena. You might not expect it, but Uryu is still one of the better characters in the entire game, and definitely a prize in this particular banner. And of course, the same can be said for 7th Anniversary Ichigo. In his case, he is a Mind Soripa with the Soripa and also a Ranka killer combination. His gameplay, while not as good as Uryu's, he's still got a lot of usability, especially when it comes to Guild Quest content. In Ichigo's case, when it comes to damage output, he's very similar to Mayuri that we already talked about. Having Frenzy +1 with a 40% Berserker, and when you do inflict a stat ailment, which keep in mind every 5 seconds he has a chance to inflict a stat ailment on any given enemy, he will then get an 80% stat boost to his Spiritual Pressure stat. He has a great SA2, that being a distant area into a tracking vortex, and also a full screen SA3. Unfortunately, his SA1 does somewhat ruin the character's gameplay, but that still doesn't stop him as being one of the better main characters in the game, especially because his stat ailments are actually weakening and also paralysis, a very powerful combination. Now, what makes this character really good, especially when it comes to Guild Quest content, is that he does have a really high sub-bomb damage. As already mentioned, he pairs quite well with someone like White, for example, but in his case, since he does have Bombardment +1, allowing his sub-bomb to hit 8 times, a high SP stat, With the spiritual pressure boost plus 80% and weakening on the soul bomb, that does allow him, assuming you have dupes of the character, to nuke through all 5 waves of guild quests. And keep in mind, his kill effect is Soipa and also Arrancar, so if you do get this character duped out, you can use him for 4 weeks of guild quests. He's one of the better nukers in the game, and almost a must-have for those particular guild quest weeks. Even if you don't get this character duped out, his Vortex and also crowd control is still really good, and still one of the better characters for both the Soipa and also Arrancar guild quests. While me and a lot of the community kind of trashing this character's SA1, he's still one of the most usable main characters in the entire game. The next character is the Cacao Society version of Grimmjow, in this case a Technique Arrancar killer. Damage output, pretty good on this character since he was given Frenzy plus 2. And when you do inflict a status summon, you do 40% more damage to those particular enemies. But keep in mind he can apply weakening, so you're already doing 50% more damage to the enemies you do here after the status summon proc. He has a great set of strong attacks, especially with that SA3 since it is a charge attack, making him really good for epic grade content. And that's important to keep in mind because he himself is a farming character. By using him in IZ, epic rates, you are getting 5 additional Link Swap potions for the speed attribute. If you want to take him into Inheritance Trials content, he also does increase the amount of Super Links or potions you can get by an additional 5. He's no longer the best tech character when it comes to farming Inheritance Trials. There are better characters out there, namely Uryu and also Gin, for example. But when he does have Killer, when there are Arrancar enemies, he's definitely a great character, but overall he's still an amazing character to use, and personally, one of my big wants in this particular banner. But as of lately, his best place to be used in is epic grade content, because he does have a really good damage output, with that weakening, more damage to enemies that are applied by weakening, and also that charge strong attack free. Once more, another solid and high valued character. And last but definitely not least, we have 6th Anniversary Aizen. Still one of the best characters in the game, even 2 years later. In his case, he himself is a hot Soipa Captain Killer with a pretty good damage output. In this case, he has Frenzy plus 2 and also more damage at full stamina plus 20%. What makes this character really good is his survivability and also really powerful strong attack kit, one of the best in the entire game. A massive beam SA1, a distant AoE into a tracking vortex SA2, and also a full screen strong attack 3. There's a reason why this character is still used to this day. Throw onto the fact that he does also apply weakening and also drain, it allows him to do more damage, keep himself safe, but also easily get back up to full stamina, where you can then get that additional 20% more damage at full stamina. His killer combination is great for guild quest content, as he is able to be used in the ranged Soipa guild quest and be used in both the range and melee Captain Guild quest weeks. Besides having a really cool design, this character aids exceptionally well and still one of the most usable heart characters in the entire game. An amazing character, and I love that they threw him into the banner. And that's essentially the 8th Anniversary banner in a nutshell. I might have went on a bit longer than intended, but keep in mind there will be a lot of new players trying out the game for the first time, and that's why I wanted to take my time to explain the characters more carefully instead of just glossing over them. But keep in mind, because this is an Anniversary banner, it is a 7-step banner. Step 1 will be free, but keep in mind the rates will be lowered, but as you summon on the banner, the rates start to increase, and keep in mind that these are not the only 5-star characters you will be pulling, as there is an additional second percentage, in this case the other pull rate. It's best to think of this extra pull rate as an add-on to your 6% pull rate. Usual banners are 6%, and this is no exception. If you want one of the main 12 featured characters, they all have a 0.5% pull rate, therefore, overall, 6% chance to pull them. At step 7, the other pull rate will be increased to 2%, so overall the 5-star pull rate will be 8%. If for some reason you unfortunately do get baited and get a non-featured character, do understand in a normal banner that would have been a 4-star. For new players, while it might not be as exciting, keep in mind those characters are somewhat rarer because very rarely do some of these characters ever get featured on a banner. They might be resurrectable, and therefore you can get some good links and potential even more orbs. I do want to give a fair warning, since the guaranteed step is only on step 6. I recommend everyone at the very least do go to step 6, since it's worth it. It's only going to cost you around 1,000 orbs. But do be careful going past step 7. Step 7 has no guarantees, no more discounts, so you really are playing with RNG, but then again, you do that on almost every other banner. I think this is a banner that's easily worth summoning on. In my case, I plan to spend around 6,000 orbs to hopefully try and get the new characters, while also getting most of the other characters in this banner, and also dupes of the last year's Anniversary characters. However, as already mentioned at the start of the video, make sure you still have some leftover orbs, because part 2 of the Anniversary will be getting announced on the 28th of July. This is a really good banner, definitely going to be one of the better banners of the entire year. There's a lot of great value, a lot of great characters, and of course the 2 new characters themselves, White and also Ichigo, are some of the better and most exciting characters of the entire game, period. In the comments below, let me know what your summon plan is. Again, for me, I plan to spend around 6,000 orbs. Hopefully I don't go any more than that. But if you are summoning on the banner, we will be live when the banner does go live. So feel free to summon with me. Good luck. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for the 8th anniversary banner. Take care.